Yeah, I think there are some, for me, key things we're going to look at in here. I think we should not forget compliance and some form of quality system. And I say that in our increasingly, MDR, regulatory heavy world that we live in. It's not your responsibility necessarily as a manufacturer to be able to recall every single product, but you need to know that your distributor is also competent to manage any regulatory or quality requirement in their own individual market. So I think that's quite important. I would be looking at their product portfolio. As Hakeem's already mentioned, it's got to be relevant or synergistic with your brands. If it has no relevance to what you're doing, I would question whether that's the right person to be working with. It's also to do with the contact points within a hospital or organization that they're dealing with. If they've already got similar products, I think it's a fair assumption to make that they've already got relationships with the relevant departments where you want your products to go to. So that's something I think you should be looking for. Evidence, I agree with Hakeem fully. I would always look to some of their other principles, as part of that interview process. If you see that they're proud that they've worked with, another supplier, complementary supplier, not necessarily competing, for 10 years, call them up, find the person and say, what's the situation with these guys? Do they do a good job for you? Those references from other suppliers, peers in your position, people are pretty open, I find, in providing that sort of information. So don't hesitate to ask those questions. And then the sales team itself. I think, of course, the starting point is how many salespeople they might have, but maybe sometimes people overlook is how many products does each salesperson look after? Because if it's more than 3 or 4, I would question how they're going to actually manage, effectively representing those brands. And that also goes for the distributor itself. It's not a binding rule, but I think it's fair to say that a distributor who has a catalogue of thousands of products is never going to be proactively managing to be an expert in all of those products. And I've certainly always had more success with distributors who are focused, who might only have a small range of products, but who are experts within those product ranges. So that's what I would be looking to do. And then the biggest criteria for me then is the willingness to commit to targets, objectives, and sign up to contracts. If that's something which is already an issue in those early negotiations or interview stage, then that might also ring some alarm bells for you as to their capability to actually deliver. So those are some of the things I'd be looking at.
Excellent. I saw Hakeem nodding on several of those comments. I think this seems to be some sharing of similar thoughts on this. I had an interesting conversation this morning with a European manufacturer, and we talked, actually, Paul, part of what you described was product categories can be complementary, but what we call call point synergies. So do they have the relationships with the right buyer? If they sell into a particular department of a hospital, do they have those relationships? If they sell into long-term care facilities, do they have those relationships? So it's not just, are they synergistic in terms of products, but is it synergistic in terms of their selling relationships?